In potentially the worst kept tech secret in this decade, Microsoft finally came out and announced Windows 11, the brand new version of Windows, even though there was never meant to be another Windows. So of course we played a little bit with the leaked build the other day, but how much of that leaked build was true, and just what can we expect from the brand new Windows 11? If you missed what is potentially the worst tech event I have ever seen, honestly, these presenters had absolutely no personality, and I think I'd have had more fun watching paint dry. If you didn't watch the event or just simply couldn't for the tech issues or the cringe, join me here as we go through some of the top features to look out for in Microsoft Windows 11. Hello everybody, my name is Robert and this is Review Clip. Let's get out of the way right now that Microsoft Windows 11 is going to be a free upgrade for anyone who has Windows 10. I say anyone. The recommended and minimum requirements are pretty good. Most devices that can run Windows 10 should be able to run Windows 11. It's built to be a little bit more lightweight. But there is one requirement that says upsetting the tech community somewhat, and that is the requirement for the Trusted Platform Module, or TPM2. Most Intel processors made in the last 3 years have this built in anyway, so it really isn't much of an issue unless you're running a Ryzen processor. If you don't have this Trusted Platform Module on your computer, then you're pretty stuck and Windows 11 isn't for you. Many people are claiming this is just Microsoft's way of saying, if you want the shiny new thing, go buy a shiny new thing. But I don't think that's the case. I think they've done this from a security standpoint, and it totally makes sense to me. Thankfully, the desktop that I've got behind the camera here does have a TPM chip in it. What this means is you'll be able to come on the journey with me as we explore each and every Windows 11 build and every little feature that they have to offer. Let's start off with that visual overhaul. Now, most of the visual overhauls that we saw when we were looking through some of that leaked build that you can watch up there or in the description down below is pretty much here to stay. It all looks very nice and glassy. It almost has a Mac OS look to it. I think someone also noted that it looked a little bit like a Linux distribution, and I can kind of see it. I do really like the design. I think it's simple, and I think it works for whatever device you're using, be that a laptop, a desktop, or maybe a 2-in-1 or a tablet. While we're talking about 2-in-1s and tablets, they also have a continuity option. If you are to pull this out of its dock, for example, if you have a Surface tablet, pulling it out of its keyboard, all of these icons will become just that little bit bigger. And what that means is they're easier to touch and use. They also support multi-touch support, so you can just navigate the way you normally would on Windows on your touchpad. For example, 3-finger swipe up will take you to your multitasking and so on and so forth. It feels familiar, and it really does feel like a step forward to unifying all your devices into one Windows platform. What's really nice to see as well is when we're on our home screen, we can swipe to the left or pull to the left or use the icon on the bottom panel. And what that does is bring up your widgets. This is a little bit like the Google homepage or the widgets page on your iPad. You're just going to see a range of widgets and even some options for news stories that are AI powered. Microsoft loves to use the word AI and cloud, and I think in this case it's used pretty loosely. It decides what it thinks you might like to read and just gives you an infinite scrolling page of news stories that you might be interested in. Pretty cool. That start menu's had a little bit of a change as well. When we click it, we're going to see just some of the things that we've potentially used in the past. So maybe I've been editing a Word document on my phone. It's going to show up here that I recently edited this, and you can go and jump straight into it. It's a really simple thing, but you might find it to be a very powerful tool. So multitasking is about to get so much easier on your Windows computer. Mainly when you connect up a second monitor and you lay out all of the programs that you want on there, as soon as you pull that HDMI cable currently, everything just kind of jumps to your one display and it messes with what you're doing on your laptop display. But not anymore. Now it's going to remember what's docked where on your second display, and as soon as you unplug, everything gets minimized. and then when you plug back in, everything will pop back up exactly where you needed it. And apparently this is hardware dependent as well, so that is really cool to see. And quite interesting as well. I can see this being an incredibly powerful tool for quickly docking in and out and getting the workspace to exactly how you want it. Speaking of workspaces, we also have multiple workspace support. So for example, I could have one for gaming, one for work, and one for play. Each of these can have different backgrounds, each of these can have different applications, and everything in between. Talking on applications, we also have a new way to dock them and to lay them out. Much like a power tool that is available for Windows 10 at the moment, when you hover over the maximize button, you're given the option to dock in many different places. These are all AI powered, so it understands how big your monitor is and gives you places that it thinks might work best for you in a multitasking situation. Before we continue with today's video though, if you're enjoying this kind of content and you are as excited as I am to find out just what Windows 11 has in store, then get down there, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell notification icon, because you'll get notified every time I upload. I've got a lot of Windows 11 content coming up. I plan to do just walkthroughs and I plan to look at every single feature that Windows 11 has to offer from day one as soon as I get these developer builds, and I personally can't wait. Let's talk communication. Over the last year, communication has been key, and Microsoft knows this, and it does feel a little too late, but Teams is now fully integrated with the Windows experience. Funnily enough, Skype is nowhere to be seen. It seems like they're kind of just trying to sweep that under the rug, with Teams being the main way to communicate now on Windows. It was pretty cool to see, but I don't really see it being anything too powerful. On a tablet perhaps, this becomes a little bit more useful. It's a little bit like when macOS and iPadOS had the messaging apps. It feels very similar here, but it's a nice feature to see all the same, and it's easy to keep communicating with the people that you love. Gaming was a super key focus here as well, of course, because Windows has always been the place for gaming, as has Xbox. Now, there were a few different announcements that I found particularly interesting. For example, we're actually able to use Auto HDR, a feature that was previously only seen on the Xbox Series X and Series S, is now available on the Windows 11 PCs. And what this means is thousands of games, including Skyrim for some reason, actually gets this new Auto HDR support. The developer and the user doesn't have to do anything, it's just done for you. There's also some cool stuff with loading assets straight from to the SSD rather than going through the graphics card. So this makes things a little bit quicker, particularly when you're loading multiple assets at a time. So you'll see load times greatly reduced on the PC, or so they say. In perhaps one of the strangest and biggest changes to Windows to date is the Microsoft Store got completely overhauled. Now it's not just UWP apps. It's also Windows 32 apps, or what me and you know as executables. Basically, any file or program can be put onto the Microsoft Store. But perhaps most interestingly of all is we can now run Android apps natively on Windows. This is a really strange thing, and I can genuinely see this spelling the end for the Android tablet market. Oddly though, the way that this is approached just feels weird to me. The first time you log into the Microsoft Store and you go to download an Android app, you will be asked to download the Amazon App Store app, log in with your Amazon account, and then you can download the app. So everything Android based is hosted and distributed by Amazon. So you've got Microsoft and Amazon working together to create this kind of mishmash of a store for everything from Windows 32 to Android apps. Really strange, but I can genuinely see it being really interesting. Obviously, Windows wants to be the one place you go to for everything. The most universally hated thing in this world is probably Windows updates, because they tend to strike at the most awkward time. Well, Windows 11 has you covered here, because most of the updates are 30% smaller, and even just run in the background. You don't have to worry about restarting your computer to get these updates done. It can just do it in the background and you probably won't even notice. We'll also only receive one major feature update a year. Normally we get two, but with Windows 11 there's one. So these will probably be more feature-rich updates, but they will be less often, so That's one thing. At least you don't have to worry too much about twice a year your computer just all of a sudden deciding that it wants to do its updates. So there we have it. That is all of the key points that came out of the Windows 11 keynote. We got a lot of gaming stuff, we got a lot of customization, including the new keyboard layout and even the speech recognition for typing. All of this feels like a really big step forwards towards having a much more unified version of Windows wherever you are, be that on a tablet, a 2-in-1, a desktop, or a laptop. As I mentioned, if you're as excited as I am to try out and see all of this progress in Windows 11 and play with all of these new cool features, then get subscribed down below and let me know what you're most excited about to see, and I will definitely try and get it into a video. My name's been Robert, this has been Review Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.